There comes a point where being kind starts to feel heavy. It is not that you stop caring about others. It is not that you stop wanting to be helpful. It is just that you start to notice the quiet cost of always saying yes, always showing up, always softening yourself so that others are more comfortable. Being nice can feel like second nature, like the easiest thing in the world, until one day you realize that it has come at the expense of your own peace. Today we're talking about what no one tells you about being too nice and what it takes to find balance without losing the heart that makes you so caring in the first place. Chapter 1. Why being too nice happens. Being too nice rarely starts as a conscious choice. It is something that slowly grows over time, shaped by how we experience the world and how the world responds to us. For many, this habit begins in small ways. Maybe it was easier to keep quiet than to speak up. Maybe it felt safer to agree rather than risk conflict. Maybe we learned that when we smiled and said yes, the people around us seemed calmer and happier, and that made life feel easier to manage. It often starts with the best of intentions. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be helpful, thoughtful, and caring. In fact, it is one of the most beautiful traits a person can have. But what we do not realize is that this pattern can easily grow into something that no longer feels like a choice. It becomes automatic. We say yes before we even pause to think about whether we actually want to. We offer help before we even ask if we have the energy to give it. Over time, this reflex becomes so ingrained that it feels uncomfortable not to do it. Another reason we become too nice is because of how deeply we notice other people's emotions. Many sensitive people have a natural awareness of what others are feeling. They pick up on tension in a room. They sense disappointment in someone's tone. They notice when something feels off, even if no one says a word. That awareness can be a gift, but it can also create pressure. Because we notice what others are feeling, we might feel responsible for fixing it. If someone seems upset, we try to smooth it over. If someone is unhappy, we try to cheer them up. If someone is in need, we drop what we are doing to help them. With time, this can start to shape how we see ourselves. We begin to think of ourselves as the nice one, the person who is always there, the one who will do anything for anyone. That becomes part of our identity, and with it comes a quiet expectation, both from others and from ourselves, to always be available, to always say yes, to always put our own feelings second. And because we are so used to this role, we often do not stop to ask if it is fair to us or if it is even healthy. What makes this cycle even more powerful is how it is rewarded. People thank us for being so reliable. They tell us how kind we are, how much they appreciate us. And of course, that feels good. It feels meaningful to make a difference for others. But that external praise can also make it harder to slow down. The more we are seen as the dependable one, the more pressure we feel to live up to that image. We do not want to disappoint anyone, so we keep giving, even when we are tired. Slowly, the line between kindness and self-sacrifice starts to blur. We forget what it feels like to simply do something because we genuinely want to, instead of because we feel we have to. We forget that kindness does not have to mean saying yes to everything. We forget that we have limits, and that those limits are not flaws, but natural, healthy boundaries that keep us from burning out. The result is a life where being nice feels less like an expression of who we are and more like an obligation we cannot escape. And when we finally pause to notice how drained we feel, it can be confusing. We wonder why something as good and natural as kindness is leaving us so tired. That moment, that quiet awareness that something is off, is often the first step toward change. Chapter 2. The emotional toll of overgiving. When you live your life constantly saying yes, always showing up for others, and rarely checking in with yourself, the cost slowly builds in the background. At first, it might feel manageable. You tell yourself you're just tired from a busy day or that things will calm down soon. But what happens over time is more than just physical exhaustion. It becomes emotional exhaustion. You might notice it as a heaviness you cannot quite explain. You wake up already feeling drained, as if your day has already taken something from you before it even begins. You go through the motions, helping and giving and supporting, but a quiet voice inside you starts whispering that you're running out of energy. You may even feel irritable with yourself for feeling this way, as if being tired means you're failing at being the kind, reliable person you're supposed to be. One of the most difficult parts of overgiving is the feeling of being invisible. People may come to you when they need advice, a listening ear, or help with something they cannot do alone, but they might not always notice when you are the one who needs help. You may sit in a room full of people and feel completely unseen because no one is looking past the role you play. They see the strong one, the caring one, the nice one, but they may not see the person who is quietly hoping that someone will ask how they are doing. This can create a kind of loneliness that is hard to describe. It is not the loneliness of being physically alone, but the loneliness of being surrounded by others while feeling as though no one truly understands how much you're holding inside. You might even start to resent the people you care about, not because you no longer want to help, but because you wish someone would notice that you're tired too. This resentment can feel confusing and even painful because it seems at odds with the kind of person you want to be. Overgiving also has a way of disconnecting you from yourself. When so much of your energy goes into caring for others, your own needs can feel blurry or unimportant. You might forget what you actually enjoy, what makes you feel alive, what you need in order to feel balanced. The constant focus on others can leave you unsure of what your own voice even sounds like. And then there is the guilt that shows up the moment you think about saying no. The guilt that tells you it is selfish to rest, selfish to put yourself first, selfish to take time for your own needs. That guilt can keep you stuck in the same cycle of overgiving because the discomfort of disappointing someone feels worse than the discomfort of neglecting yourself. What is so powerful and painful about this emotional toll is that it does not happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, piece by piece, until one day you realize how tired you have become and how far away from yourself you feel. This realization can be both sobering and freeing, because once you see it clearly, you have the chance to do something about it. You have the chance to begin finding a balance between being there for others and being there for yourself. Chapter 3. When niceness becomes a disguise. There is a point where kindness stops being just kindness and becomes something else entirely. A mask we put on every single day. At first, it feels harmless. Smiling through discomfort feels like the easiest way to keep everything smooth. Laughing off a comment that hurt feels quicker than explaining why it bothered you. Saying yes feels safer than saying no. Before you know it, niceness becomes less about what you genuinely want to offer and more about what you think you must offer to keep the world calm around you. This is when niceness starts to function as a disguise. It hides your tiredness. It hides your frustration. It hides your very real human feelings. People see you as endlessly patient, endlessly kind, endlessly giving. And in a way, that becomes its own kind of trap. Because if you are always the easy-going one, always the one who never complains, always the one who makes things run smoothly, then others stop expecting anything else from you. They stop looking past the surface because they have no reason to believe there is anything more to see. Over time, this can create a deep sense of disconnection. You might start to feel like no one really knows the real you. The you who sometimes gets tired, sometimes feels hurt, sometimes just wants to say no without feeling guilty. The longer you keep that part of yourself hidden, the lonelier it can feel. Because while you're busy meeting everyone else's needs, your own needs are left untouched, unspoken, unmet. This is where resentment can quietly build, not because you want to stop being kind, but because the kindness you're giving no longer feels balanced. You may feel yourself becoming irritated or short-tempered, which only makes you double down on the mask, smiling wider, giving more, hoping no one will notice that inside you are stretched thin. It is also easy to confuse being nice with being good. We sometimes equate our worth with how much we can tolerate, how much we can give without asking for anything in return. This belief can make it incredibly hard to break free from the pattern, because it feels like choosing yourself might mean becoming less good, less lovable, less who you're supposed to be. But this is where the real danger lies, when niceness stops being an expression of who you are and starts becoming a performance. When it becomes about keeping others comfortable at the expense of your own honesty, your own energy, and your own needs. That is when kindness starts to hurt you. The truth is, kindness without authenticity cannot last. Sooner or later, the weight of hiding how you truly feel becomes too heavy. And when that moment comes, it can feel overwhelming, even frightening, to think about letting people see the truth. But it is in that moment, when the mask starts to crack, that you have the chance to discover something life-changing, that you can still be kind and still be honest, still be caring and still be real. Chapter 4. Setting boundaries without guilt. One of the most powerful moments in life is when you realize that being kind does not have to mean being available to everyone all the time. Boundaries are often misunderstood as walls that keep people out, but they are not about shutting people out at all. They are about giving yourself enough space to stay whole, to stay present, and to stay true to what you can genuinely offer. For many people who identify as too nice, the word boundary almost feels uncomfortable. It can bring up images of disappointing others, being misunderstood, or coming across as cold. Saying no might feel selfish, even though it is one of the most natural and healthy words we can use. It can feel like you are letting someone down, even when you are simply protecting the energy you need to function well in your own life. The truth is, boundaries are not about pushing others away. They are about holding yourself steady. They are the invisible lines that help you know where you end and where someone else begins. Without them, it is easy to lose sight of your own needs, your own limits, and even your own identity. With them, you create room to breathe, to rest, and to show up in a way that feels more balanced and sustainable. Learning to set boundaries, start small. It might begin with a quiet pause before saying yes to something. It might mean giving yourself permission to check in with how you're feeling before you agree to take something on. Sometimes it is as simple as saying, I need a moment to think about that, and allowing yourself the time to decide if this is something you can truly give your energy to. And here's the most important part. Boundaries do not require an apology. You do not have to over-explain why you cannot attend an event, why you're not available to talk at that moment, or why you're taking time for yourself. The pause, the no, the space, those are enough. You are allowed to take care of yourself simply because you are a person with needs, just like anyone else. What makes this so challenging is that at first, guilt shows up. The first time you say no when you would have normally said yes, you might feel uneasy. The first time you turn off your phone so you can rest, you might worry someone will think you are ignoring them. The first time you cancel something because you're tired, you might replay the decision in your mind over and over. This is normal. Guilt does not mean you're doing something wrong. It often just means you're doing something new. Over time, as you practice holding your boundaries, you begin to notice a shift. Instead of feeling constantly drained, you begin to feel more grounded. You notice that when you say yes, it comes from a place of real willingness rather than obligation. You realize that your kindness becomes deeper because it is no longer being given from an empty place. Boundaries also allow others to know you more honestly. When people see where your limits are, they are given the chance to respect those limits and to understand you better. It opens the door to more genuine connection because it is built on truth rather than silent self-sacrifice. And perhaps the most freeing part is that you do not have to be perfect at this. Boundaries are not a one-time event. They are a practice. You will get it right sometimes, and you will get it wrong sometimes. But each time you choose to listen to yourself, each time you choose to honor what you can and cannot do, you are strengthening that inner voice that has been quiet for too long. When you begin to see boundaries not as a punishment, but as a way of honoring yourself, everything changes. They become less about what you're keeping out and more about what you're making space for: peace, clarity, and a more sustainable kind of kindness. Chapter 5. Finding balance between giving and receiving. There comes a moment when you realize that giving is not supposed to leave you completely empty. So many people who care deeply about others fall into the habit of pouring out more than they have, thinking that love or kindness is measured by how much of yourself you sacrifice. But real generosity has room for you too. Finding balance is not about giving less. It is about giving in a way that allows you to keep your heart open without burning out. For someone who is naturally compassionate, it can be easy to get caught up in the idea that you're supposed to be the strong one, the helper, the one who listens and shows up no matter what. But when giving becomes constant and one-sided, it stops feeling like generosity and starts feeling like a weight. You may begin to notice that you are tired all the time, that the things you once loved doing feel like a chore, or that you feel guilty when you even think about taking a break. Balance begins when you understand that receiving is just as important as giving. It is about learning to let others support you, to accept kindness without immediately feeling like you owe something back. This can be hard if you have spent years measuring your worth by how much you do for others. Allowing someone to help you, to care for you, or even to Simply be there for you can feel uncomfortable at first. But just as you feel fulfilled when you give, others may feel fulfilled when they give to you. And by allowing that, you create space for a connection to flow in both directions. One helpful way to find this balance is to slow down and check in with yourself before you commit to anything. Ask yourself, do I have the energy for this right now? Am I saying yes because I genuinely want to, or because I am afraid to disappoint someone? When you pause long enough to listen, you can give in a way that feels natural rather than forced. Another key part of balance is filling your own cup in simple, consistent ways. This might look like quiet time in the morning to gather your thoughts before the day begins, moments of stillness during the day where you can reset, or activities that bring you genuine joy, even small ones. When you do things that restore you, you are not taking away from others. You are replenishing yourself so that what you give comes from a place of calm and fullness rather than exhaustion. Finding balance also means being okay with not giving in every situation. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is to step back and allow others to figure things out on their own. Sometimes it means trusting that the world will not fall apart if you are not the one to solve everything. In those moments, you're not withholding kindness. You're giving yourself the grace to rest and allowing others the dignity to find their own strength. And then there is the beauty of small acts of receiving. Notice how it feels when someone offers to help and you say yes. Notice how it feels when you share how you are doing and let someone truly hear you. Notice how it feels when you allow a moment of care to land without brushing it off. Over time, these moments teach you that receiving does not make you weak. It makes you human. The truth is, giving and receiving are not opposites. They are two halves of the same experience. The more you allow yourself to receive, the more sustainable your giving becomes. And when your giving feels sustainable, it begins to feel joyful again. It no longer comes with resentment or burnout, but with a quiet strength that reminds you why you wanted to care in the first place. When you strike that balance, something inside you softens. You begin to feel lighter, freer, and more grounded. You no longer give because you feel you have to, but because you truly want to. And you no longer feel guilty about needing support, because you know that caring for yourself allows you to stay connected to the parts of you that are most alive. Finding this balance takes time, but every small step toward it matters. Each pause before saying yes, each moment you let yourself receive, each choice to rest, all of it adds up to a life where your compassion no longer drains you, but instead fuels a deeper sense of connection to yourself and the world around you. At the end of the day, being someone who cares deeply is a rare and beautiful thing. It means you notice what others miss. You feel what others cannot put into words, and you bring a kind of warmth that makes the world softer for those around you. But learning how to care without losing yourself is one of the most important lessons you can take with you. You're not meant to live exhausted, running on empty just to keep others comfortable. You're meant to feel whole, to feel steady, and to feel at peace within yourself. Protecting your heart does not make you cold. It keeps you strong enough to keep loving in a way that feels good to you. So, as you move forward, allow yourself to pause before giving everything away. Notice when you need rest. Notice when your heart feels heavy, and give yourself permission to step back. And most importantly, allow yourself to receive care as freely as you give it. That is how you create a life where compassion does not break you, but sustains you. You are not just here to carry the weight of others. You are here to live, to breathe, to grow, and to feel joy in your own heart too. And when you honor that truth, your kindness becomes not just a gift to others, but also a gift to yourself.